Welcome to the Judith Knife Company YouTube channel. Today is going to be all about this Bowie knife. It is out of the temper and it is episode 3. All right, so here is everything that I want to do to this knife. I need to grind the tang with a file guide and the shoulders. So once that's done, I need to grind the ricasso. I'm going to reinstall the file guide pointing this way. After that's done, I'm gonna come back to the camera. I'm not gonna film all the grinding because it takes forever and it's just not that exciting to watch. I'm going to run the bevel, this nice flat face here, and the spine of the knife through 120 grit, 240, 320, and then 400 grit. I will step out of the grinding room and show you where the progress is. I made a note here to do that on the spine as well. And then for the tip, I need to use the wheel I use for hollow grinding. It matches this radius, and this is a little choppy right now. It'll give me a nice consistent finish every time. Then I've got an arrow coming all the way around here, and on that arrow it says hand sand blade to 600 grit acid etch for Hamon. So this knife does have a Hamon. Pop's Knife Supply told me, I even called them and asked them, will silver still take a Hamon? And they said yes. So I put my clay on here, and that acid at the end will give it it will make that clay contrast. And I'll be able to go in, acid etch, resand a little bit, acid etch, resand a little bit, and that will even draw that out more. After that, I'm gonna fit the guard. I already have it shaped from the first knife. I'm pretty happy with this. It's gonna have some nice flowing lines when it goes on here. I've still got to take it through all the grits. Fortunately, brass moves really quick and it's very forgiving with a buffer. I'm also going to do some fitment pins. I plan on putting those, they need to go in the outer portion of the stag, so they will probably end up being over here or over here. We're going to drill out the stag, so we're gonna take a nice big fat drill bit, drill down through here, and make a through hole. And then I need to anneal the tang because I'm going to be threading it, and I plan on threading it to this copper Corby bolt. It will be running through this piece of brass. It's going to tighten everything up. I'll glue it all together, and then I will grind off this flathead screw, and this will have a chamfer to it, and I will pound this and peen it into the chamfer on here, making the whole thing a permanent assembly. Oh yeah, and then I also need to shape this guy. So peen it over, and then leather. I haven't decided how I want to do the leather for this knife yet. I think a nice classy Bowie knife, whichever you prefer, deserves to have good leather. I think they just work very well together. So I will be touching in soon. All right, so next up on the list, grind the tang and use the file guide for the shoulders for the fit up. So that's what I'm gonna be doing next. And yeah, I gotta do some layout. All right, so I've got the knife right here, and I'm going to be finding the size that I want my ricasso to be. So what I need to do first is I need to grind this side in right here and square this up. Because I need this and this to be perpendicular. And so to do that, I'm actually going to scribe a line on this side. It's gonna help me out a bunch. And I just need to get it to essentially the thinnest point because I want to keep as much material here as I can. So I have a fine line to grind to. It's not very easy to see. But it's there. It runs just right along that edge. I'm going to be pulling out just a bit of material here. I'm also going to clean up this edge right here. So I'll be right back. All right, so we're back from the grinding room, and the width of our ricasso is, drum roll, 0.852. So we want our ricasso to be the same dimensions as a credit card. I think it is a good size. I think it looks good on Bowie knives. I like the ratio. I don't think it's the golden ratio because the golden ratio is 1.618, but I know that this is the shape that I want my ricasso to be. So I'm gonna do the quick math on that. So we have 0.852 here. That's our width, and we are looking for our height. So we're going to cross multiply and divide to find that. So all we need to do is cross multiply and divide to figure out what we want the height of our ricasso to be. We get 0.5366, and we're going to round that up to 0.537. So we're going to measure that out on the calipers, use our machinist square right here to scribe a line right across. And that's going to be our shoulder for our ricasso. That's what our guard is going to fit up to. So let's zero these out. And we're going to open to 0.537. That's tricky. We're gonna call that good enough. So we're going to be pushing this plunge back. So we're actually going to measure from the bottom here because we want it to come to that corner. So we're going to just be putting a small mark right there. There it is. We're gonna sit our square on the back side, bring it to that mark, and scribe it. And that is a good looking dimension for a ricasso. Sweet. Oh yeah, that's gonna look great. Happy about that. All right, so we have got some lines scribed out for our tang. It's going to come off at an angle, shouldn't be a problem. And then we also have our file guide attached nice and securely lined up with our scribe line. So we are gonna head into the grinding room, grind this away, grind out all of this. I might leave some of that in. Probably will, yeah. And yeah, I'll be right back. I have clearly changed the shape of my tang dramatically. Next, I need to take this off and flip it around. Actually, no, I need to take it off and grind the ricasso. Probably should have done that first. Okay, so I have taken my ricasso up to 400 grit. You can see it bled over onto my tang area. That is okay. I can still fit this up. Shouldn't give me any problems. These surfaces really are the ones that are important. Here and here. This I can work around. So I've gotten it to 400 grit here. I'm going to be taking this bevel all the way up, so I'm not worried about that or any of this. Next up, I need to take the spine and the clip and the underside of the ricasso and the choil all up to 400 grit. So I'm going to do that and be right back. All right, so out of the grinding room, and we have got 400 grit on our ricasso, 400 grit underneath the ricasso, and on the choil, I'll smooth that transition in hand sanding, and 400 grit down the whole spine. Now it's time to throw the file guide on here, and I've got a nice flat surface for it to hold on to, and I'm going to be dialing these bevels in. I'm going to be running them all the way up to 400 grit as well. All right, file guide is on, and it is time to go and do a lot of grinding. So first up is going to be 120, and I will be back as soon as that's done. All right, here is 120 grit off the grinder. I've been watching the plunges. They're looking good. And next up is going to be 240. And I'll be right back. All right. I have taken this up to 220 on both sides. And that is where I'm going to be stopping. The 220 is where I like to start hand sanding, and I was getting some chatter from the grinder, and that just works its way in with the following grits. So I am pretty happy with this. The plunges look awesome. So I'm going to set up my hand sanding setup and start cranking on this thing. It's going to take a while. It's a broad blade and it's a hard steel. All right, so next up is hand sanding. This is an absolute pain to film. So I'm going to record just a little bit and then probably shut the camera off and listen to music and check in between grits. Got some WD-40 on here. We're gonna get at it. All right, here is 220 grit. The Hamon is starting to peek through. Pretty exciting. It's wild the difference that hand sanding makes. It just takes it up a notch. Those scratches are from the wood and just the knife rocking back and forth on them are on it, but yeah, I'm gonna acetone this off and go and give it a dunk in the ferric so we can see what this Hamon's looking like. All right, we are out of the ferric. Just did 10 minutes, but look at that Hamon. Man, that thing looks awesome. Super pleased. Looks fantastic. I'm gonna set up to hand sand this next grit and then we will re-etch it. And this is 320 grit. You can see that Hamon peeking through. Oh, it looks so good. I'm very happy with this. Oh yeah, there it is. So I'm gonna wipe this down and give it another bath in the acid. All right, this is the acid etch after 320 grit. This is coming right along. It's looking really, really cool. Next grit, here we go. Here it is. After a long day of finish work, I took this thing all the way up to 600 grit and just did a quick etch. I'm really pleased with how this looks. Looks really cool, I think. So, yeah, that's a wrap for today. I'll be back on it tomorrow. All right, so today is the 13th of December. It is Wednesday, and I have been working on this Bowie knife. It's coming along pretty well. The Hamon is showing pretty well. On this last etch, there are a couple spots of oil on it or something, but I am about to take this to 1,000 grit. Then I will start the process of really trying to pull out that Hamon. And here it is, 1,000 grit. Nice and shiny. You can really see that Hamon wanting to pop through. Next up, I'm going to acid etch this knife. And then I'm going to scrub it with 2500, and then I'm going to do a series of that. I'll show you in between each one, but that is, that's the next step to get this Hamon to really pop. Okay, so this is after 2 dips in ferric and scrubbing it down with 2500 grit. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put it back in the ferric for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to be just taking the oxides off with steel wool. I'm going to do that probably 2 or 3 times, and by the time that's done, this Hamon should be really stark. So I'll check back in a little bit. All right, this is the fourth dip in ferric, and now I'm scrubbing it with 4/0 steel wool. This is starting to really pop. So I'm gonna just do that again, 10 more minutes and another scrub. And that is where we're gonna stop with the finishing on this blade. That's about as stark as I can get it, and boy am I happy with those results. I think that looks fantastic. That's going to be it for this video. I'm going to continue working on this today, but before I do that, I'm going to edit and upload all the footage I've taken of this knife so far. Yeah, just for the sake of time, we're going to cut it off here. If you've enjoyed, stay tuned. There's going to be much more. If you like what you saw today, I'd really appreciate it if you drop the Judith Knife Company a like, comment, subscription, whatever you can do. If you want to see more content like this, let us know what you would like to see in the future, and thanks for watching.